Good morning everybody, Calm Biker here, and it might look like it's raining, but the weather forecaster on my phone app and the weather forecaster on the TV said it's going to be sunny today with a little bit of wind, but sunny, no chance of rain. So it only looks like it's raining, it's not true. I'll tell you what, if I was as accurate in my work as a weather forecaster, I don't think I'd keep my job very long. My first day back at work after 2 weeks away. Didn't go on holiday, just like the lead character in Office Space. I fulfilled my dream of doing absolutely nothing for 2 weeks. We had a few days out. You probably have seen the well, I won't say that actually, I won't say you probably have seen them, that would be rather too presumptuous, but you may have seen a couple of those days out, Yorkshire Sculpture Park being one of them and Brimham Rocks being another. My pin lock is fogging up again, unfortunately. Apart from the design of this helmet, the design of the artwork, the orange and whatnot, this helmet has been horrible. I'm going to have to persevere with it because they're not exactly cheap, are they? But you know, so I'm not going to buy another one. But it's been pretty horrible. I've had a visor just break. Literally, the bit where it connects to the helmet just snapped at speed for no apparent reason at all. And despite this being a helmet you can only get with a pin lock in the visor, the pin lock doesn't fit properly. So that's why it's fogging up. It manages to get moist air behind the pin lock, between the pin lock and the visor, and fogs up all together too quickly. Anyway, that's not what this video is about. I thought I'd just tell you a quick thing that happened to me yesterday on the last day of my holiday, or well, the Sunday after my holiday. And for once I feel like the luckiest person in the world for this thing happening, which will seem odd when I explain it to you. I went out yesterday for a ride up to Bridlington. We were going to see this glass artwork I mentioned in my last video, installation at the side of the road. To be fair, it's been there years, but I just didn't know, never noticed it before. And it's a series of glass panels, and they light up at night, and they've got pictures etched into them, and when they light up they're supposed to give you this visual experience, a kinetic experience they call it, I don't know. But they didn't light up, so that wasn't very good. So headed back home with Mrs. C. Got home, and in my garage, if you imagine heading towards the door to go into the garage, I always park this bike on the left and the Z1000 on the right. I had an idea behind that. It was I thought a good idea at the time, and probably still is a good idea. And the good idea was that if I had a problem and the bikes fell over, let's say this bike fell over, because it would be on the left hand side leaning to the left, it wouldn't fall onto the Z1000. Because if the bikes are going to fall over, the last thing I want is for both to get damaged, and if that's going to happen, it may as well be because the expensive bike fell over, not because the cheap bike fell over. I say cheap, I mean obviously none of them are cheap, are they? But this one was less than half the price of the other one. So that was my theory. But things don't always work out how you expected, do they? I think I'm going to actually have to lift my visor and get some air in to clear this thing. So last night got home and started pushing the Honda into the garage, and I pushed it right in, and I thought I'll just have a quick check over of it, whack it on the centre stand, have a look, you know, make sure everything's as it should be. So it was on its mat. I have 2 mats in the garage, one for each bike. I'm sure that Audi would fit. And I got it on its mat, and I put my foot on the centre stand to get it on the floor, and started lifting the bike onto its centre stand. That I do that every every week, probably at least. So it's not anything out of the ordinary. And something gave. And I'm not sure you can really, I mean, come on. How big do you think your car is? Something gave. And the bike just popped off the centre stand that wasn't fully down yet. Nasty gravel. And then tipped to the right. And I grabbed the handlebar. I already had hold of one handlebar, the left handlebar, so I grabbed that tighter, and I had hold of the handrail at the back, if you can call it that. It used to be a handrail, but it got, the proper handrail got removed to put the come on, somebody let me out. Keep clear there. Yeah, the handrail got removed to put the boxes on, so, but grabbed hold of what's left of the handrail to try and catch the bike and stop it falling over, but it had reached that point of no return. It's got full tank of fuel as well. I'd filled it up on the way home, so that didn't help. So the fuel sloshed to the right and over the bike goes. So I grabbed as hard as I could, dug my feet in as hard as I could, but they were on this mat, and this mat isn't exactly glued to the floor, so the mat wanted to slip, so I just kind of stuck my heels in as hard as I could, and I managed to catch the bike while it was tipped over at about 45 degrees, just enough to be against the Z1000 and lifting. I could see the Z1000 lifting up. So it was obviously lifting it off its side stand. And I thought, well, that's bad. Try and pull it back up, and every time I try and pull, my feet start to slip a bit, or the mat starts to slip a bit. I can feel it giving way. So I shouted at the top of my voice for Mrs. C. That was the only option I had. And she didn't come, so I shouted again. And I could feel my arm starting to get more and more painful as things were digging into it, because I've got the these hand guards here, so they were digging into my wrist. And I just shouted again and again. It was about 9:15 in the evening, completely dark by then, because the nights are drawing in. And the people who lived down the street must have thought someone was being murdered or something. How loud I was shouting, because she was in the house, so I was shouting to try and get her attention from the garage. And eventually she comes out saying, what's matter? And then sees me holding a bike. And by this point the Z1000 is nearly vertical. I'm thinking this is going to go over as well into the wall, which will be really bad because it will be tank first into the wall, and that's something I can really do without. That's a lot of traffic this morning. I wouldn't want to be in this in the car. So anyway, I said to her, quick, grab the rail and pull, and between us we got the bike sat up again. The Z1000 settled back down on its stand, and I have these little plastic things that you put on the floor when you're on soft ground under the stand, so I had one of them under it, and the bike had moved about 18 inches backwards, but luckily it settled back on its stand. This is the Z1000. Got this one back on its stand as well, on its side stand, not its centre stand, and kind of just stood there shaking really from the exertion, because I'd been holding this thing full of fuel up for several minutes, and it's quite hard work, especially when it's a weird angle that you've now got your wrists twisted at. So why would that be lucky? Well, as I say, it was dark last night, so I checked over the bikes using the lights in my garage, and I pulled the bikes out of the garage this morning to have a good look over them in the sunlight, and as far as I can see, there's no damage. There may be a slight little mark on the black plastic at the end of the exhaust on this bike, but only the tiniest little mark. And the Z1000, from the examination I've given it so far, appears to be completely undamaged. So I cannot believe my luck that pretty much the worst thing I could think of in terms of dropping a bike happened, dropping one bike onto the other. And amazingly, I seem to have got away with it. Anybody else been that lucky? Let me know in them there comments. Thanks for watching, everyone. Ride safe, and I'll talk to you all again soon.